Early in the morning of July 8th, a naked 16-year-old girl was found lying on the ground on the railroad tracks near the CHAD station. She was wearing only socks. Her entire body was covered in terrible burns. Even the grass underneath her was smoking and smoldering. The victim was taken to the hospital, where she was able to name the person who did it. The story of how a smart, beautiful, and well-mannered girl starts dating a bully is as old as the world. Usually, such relationships end when feelings give way to reality. However, unfortunately, this does not always end well. The city of Ilea is located near Riga in Latvia and does not have a developed infrastructure. Young people have little to do, so one of the main entertainments is alcohol. Anna Espens was born on July 24, 2006. Local residents know and respect her family well. Anna's mother, Elena, works as a kindergarten teacher, and her father, Nikolai, teaches at a polytechnic college in a neighboring town. Nikolai was moderately strict with his daughter, as with his students, but he loved her madly. Anna was the second and youngest child in the family. Her mother, of course, was softer with her daughter, allowed her more, and, like her father, doted on her. Despite the fact that the family was not rich, they always paid special attention to the upbringing of their children, a son and a daughter. Thanks to this, they grew up polite, responsive, and educated. Anna was visually different from everyone else, such a dandelion girl. Now, teenagers walk around in such baggy clothes, all hunched over, but she always walked with a straight back, a smooth gait. She would always say hello and smile. The neighbors of the family tell stories. The girl studied well, read a lot, and actively participated in the social life of the school. According to her classmates, you could always talk to her about something and have a good time. There are people with whom it is easy and pleasant to talk. They know how to listen. They can support if necessary. Anna was just like that, non-confrontational, kind, sympathetic, said the girl's friend. The schoolgirl was always a home girl. She liked to spend time reading books, and if she went for a walk, then only in the company of close friends, the same exemplary school children as herself. Like any girl, Anna was sensitive to her appearance. She spent almost all the money that her parents gave her on cosmetics, and the entire table in her room was filled with it. However, at 16, Anna's life changed. New people, parties, and alcohol appeared in her circle. She carefully hid her bad habit. Even her parents did not suspect that their daughter indulged in such things. At the beginning of 2023, a 10th grader tried to start a relationship with a local bully, Max Logans, who was her age. Apparently, adolescence took its toll. A period of rebellion began, and she began to gravitate toward not the best people. At this age, girls often like tough guys, and they do not strive for normal and calm relationships. A resident of the city of Ilea shared her opinion. Anna and Max had known each other since childhood, because their families lived just a few hundred meters from each other. Although they were the same age and studied in parallel classes, they practically did not communicate until 2023. Max grew up in a wealthy family. His father, Radik Logans, was a former police officer, and after retiring, he got a job in the security service of a large company. His mother, Irina, held a good position in the tax office for many years, and the guy's older sister was a qualified lawyer. Like the Espens family, the Logans family is well known in the city of Ilea, but not from the best side. According to locals, they got rich not only due to their work. They went on vacation 2 or 3 times a year, built a huge house, bought a whole fleet of foreign cars, sent their daughter to study at an expensive university in the fee-paying department. Think for yourself how much money is needed for all this. "I think all these rumors about them were not out of nowhere," said a resident of the city of Ely. "If the parents were involved in raising Max, they did it very badly." According to locals, the schoolboy grew up into a real hooligan-rich kid. As a child, Max did karate, and when he grew up, he began to use his skills on his classmates. The situation became even worse when a group of hooligans gathered around him. They drank alcohol together, fought, and caused trouble. One day, a neighbor made a remark to them and said that she would call the police, to which Max replied, "Call them, nothing will happen to me anyway. You know who I am." Radek and Irina, Max's parents, paid almost no attention to the complaints that came in about their son from city residents and school management. They continued to spoil their beloved offspring with expensive gifts, such as the latest iPhone model or branded clothes. Interestingly, while Max tried to maintain the image of a brutal hooligan in public, his friends described the teenager a little differently. He was not at all what he wanted to seem. He was selective in his friendships with his peers. He was cowardly and weak-willed flax, often cried because he could not fight back. He always sought approval from his caregivers and teachers, sometimes attracting unnecessary attention to himself. He tried to be everyone's favorite. Perhaps Anna knew about this side of Max, but having fallen in love with him, she refused to listen to her friends who advised her to find a normal guy. After all, the young people were completely different, and at that time, Max was also dating another girl. Anna did not pay attention to these rumors. In the spring of 2023, she began to actively communicate with the guy, constantly hinting to him that he should break up with his school friend Maria and start communicating more closely with her. Max was flattered by such attention, and often bragged to his friends that such a beautiful girl was pursuing him. Perhaps that is why he was in no hurry to break off relations with Maria. However, since Max did not try to stop the rumors about his reputation as a womanizer, but, on the contrary, contributed to their spread, Maria eventually found out about Anna, and on July 7th, 2023, told the guy about the breakup. Max did not seem upset when he saw this message. That same evening, he invited two of his friends, Tigran and Ilya, to celebrate the end of his relationship with Maria. The trio gathered at Logan's house, taking advantage of the fact that Radek and Irina, the teenager's parents, went to visit relatives. Max got his father's supplies from the cellar, who was fond of moonshine, and the young people began to celebrate. At some point, the teenagers got bored, and Max decided to invite Anna. Around midnight, he wrote her a message in which he told her about the breakup with Maria and invited her to join the party. The Espens family was already asleep, but Anna was not yet in bed. Seeing a message from her lover, she was delighted. The schoolgirl could not miss such a chance. She even asked Max who would be at the party and what his plans were. The girl quickly got dressed, quietly opened the bedroom window, went outside, and headed to Max's house. It must be assumed that the girl was surprised to find herself visiting Max, but still decided to stay. As Ilya and Tigran later said, they had a good time, and at about 4 o'clock in the morning, they were going to go home. We were getting ready to leave and offered to walk Anna home, but she said that she wanted to stay with Max. We did not insist. Friends told us later. However, what happened next remains a mystery to the public. Max told one story, and investigators believe that events developed differently. I met her on the street. We came to my place and started drinking moonshine. I myself did not drink, but only pretended, pouring myself water. I did not drink because I knew that my parents would arrive in the morning and realize that I was drunk. After that, we lay down on the bed in my room, and sexual intercourse occurred between us. Then Anna got dressed and asked for another drink. She continued drinking. We wanted to have sex again and started undressing each other. Anna felt sick and asked to be taken outside. The guy claims that the girl went outside in her socks. He tried to dress her, but he couldn't. In this state, she allegedly decided to go to her friends. I offered to go with her. When we went outside, she said that she would go to her friends across the railroad. I couldn't let her go alone. Max continued. According to the guy, when they started to cross the railroad, the girl fell and hit her head on the rails. Max saw that blood was running from her head and got scared. He went up to her and started checking her pulse. There was none. She wasn't talking and showed no signs of life. The young man started dragging her from the rails to the embankment so that the train wouldn't run her over. I tried to lift her up, but she didn't react or move. I thought she was dead. I was overcome with fear. I had done nothing to her, and I would be accused of everything. My fingerprints and other traces were on her, Max told law enforcement. According to the teenager, he got scared and drove away, leaving the girl lying there. The guy returned home, started his motorcycle, and rode towards the pond to clear his head. He rode for about half an hour, and then realized that when Anna was found, they would find his sweat and grease marks on her body. Then Max got scared, poured gasoline from the canister into a plastic bottle, took matches, and went back. During interrogations, the defendant claimed that Anna was still lying there as if dead. He doused her with gasoline and set her on fire. She caught fire. There was no sound, no movement. After that, I went to the trash bins, where I threw Anna's things and also smashed her phone on the concrete floor with a stone so that there would be no traces of my presence with her. I did not hit Anna on the head. I did not want to kill her. The guy was making excuses. Be that as it may, but early in the morning of July 8th, the driver of a train going through the Chad station in the city of Ilaya saw a girl near the railroad. The grass around her was still smoking, and she was wearing only socks. The driver immediately called an ambulance, which arrived at the scene within 10 minutes. However, a whole fragment was erased from the girl's memory. From the materials of the medical workers' interrogations, it follows that Anna was lying on the railroad tracks with her legs tucked under her and her eyes closed. The medic approached her and asked, "Who are you?" Anna opened her eyes. "You were thrown out of the train. Number. Did someone bring you here or lead you here?" "I don't know." "How did you end up here, and why are you naked and nude?" "I don't know." "What is your name?" "Anna." Then the girl was asked who her parents were and where she lived. She answered everything correctly. The girl didn't remember anything from the moment she ended up at Max's house until the moment she found herself on the tracks. Anna was able to give the doctors 3 names: Max, Tigran, and Ilya. The victim, who was in critical condition, was hospitalized and then transported to the regional clinic. And the police, having heard the names and surnames that the victim gave, immediately went to their addresses. But here there are inconsistencies that the investigation immediately noticed. The expert counted 12 wounds on Anna's head. Where could they have come from if Max claims that he did not beat the girl? His version sounds like this. She was injured when she fell on the rails and sleepers, and when he was dragging her to the embankment. But the medical report says that the injuries were caused by impact. The damage could have been caused by blows from one or several stones, which have the properties of a blunt, hard object, having sections with pronounced edges and angles in their design. One more detail. The first to notice Anna was the driver of a passing train, who claims that the girl was conscious and sitting on the ground. He did not notice any burns on her body, and 15 minutes later, when another train passed, its driver observed a terrible picture of the girl burning. The obvious suggests itself. The criminal could not help but understand that he was setting fire to a living person. At the hospital, doctors did everything possible to save the girl's life, but, unfortunately, a miracle did not happen. Anna was urgently taken to the hospital, and 2 days later she was flown to Riga by helicopter with 85% of her body damaged. For 10 days, the best doctors in the city, in consultation with specialists from federal burn centers, fought for her life. But on July 18, 2023, 6 days before her 17th birthday, the girl died. From the very beginning of Max's story, the police had doubts, and when the forensic report was ready, their suspicions only grew stronger. According to the conclusion, the girl was forced into intimacy, and the injuries she received could not have been the result of a fall from a human height. The investigation's version differs from the line that the defendant's defense is building. In their opinion, Max himself persuaded the girl to come to his home, got her drunk, and abused her. The guy persuaded the victim to drink a strong alcoholic drink, as a result of which he brought her into a state of alcoholic intoxication, the degree of which deprived her of the ability to understand the nature and meaning of the actions being committed against her, and to resist, that is, into a helpless state, follows from the materials of the criminal case. After the abuse, Anna ran out of the house naked and headed towards the railroad tracks. Fearing that she would meet someone and tell about what happened, Max decided to deal with her. He caught up with the girl on the railroad tracks and hit her on the head with a stone 12 times. The victim lost consciousness, and the criminal, deciding that she was dead, went home. After a while, he returned to the scene of the crime and saw that Anna was alive. She was conscious and sitting on the embankment. Realizing that the victim was helpless and unable to resist, knowing full well that burning alive would cause her particular physical pain, mental suffering, and a painful death, he poured flammable liquid on the girl sitting on the ground from behind and set her on fire, after which he fled the scene. Max's guilt was proven, as experts found his DNA at the crime scene. The fire did not destroy everything. In addition, he admitted that he tried to get rid of traces. Then the police thoroughly checked the suspect's friends, Tigran and Ilya. Unlike Max, they agreed to take a lie detector test. In addition, each of them had an alibi, which allowed them to be excluded from the list of suspects. The investigation into Anna Espens's case took 6 months and was completed in December 2023. As a result, 3 charges were brought against Max. If he had been an adult, he could have faced up to 20 years in prison. But according to Latvian law, he could not be sentenced to more than 10 years in prison. After the brutal massacre, the teenager was sentenced to 9 years in prison in 2016. He was released in December last year. But let's get back to our story. The defendant's lawyers disagreed with the investigation that Max had driven Anna to a helpless state. According to them, it was impossible to record a video in such a state, which the girl sent to her friend a few hours before the tragedy. The girl actually recorded 3 short circles. 2 lasted a few seconds. The third, about 20. In the first 2 videos, Anna gets up from her bed, says that she does not remember where she is and how she ended up here. But it is clear from her face and voice that she is quite drunk. In the last video, Anna is already with Max. He comes closer, hands her a shot glass with some liquid, and says, "Here, have another one, honey." She refuses. "No, let's not drink anymore. Please, I won't remember anything again. I won't anymore." The examination found the teenager sane, but with some psychological characteristics, including egocentrism, reduced ability to empathize, some demonstrative behavior, and a tendency to self-affirmation. Max's trial began on March 25, 2024. 4 lawyers hired by the Logan's family actively defended Max's version of manslaughter. They brought in experts who tried to challenge the forensic report, and also cited the testimony of another driver who allegedly saw Anna sitting next to the tracks half an hour before the incident, and she was fine. In addition, Max tried to evoke sympathy. Anna comes to me in my dreams. We are walking, she asks for forgiveness and says, "Your parents will forgive you. You are not guilty." All these 10 days, while they were trying to save her in the hospital, I hoped that she would live. If only she would survive to tell the whole truth. Max told during the hearing. Although the parents of the accused apologized to Anna's relatives, they still hope for their son's acquittal. Radek, Max's father, even burst into tears at one of the hearings, claiming that his son did this out of fear. The mother of the defendant limited herself to calling the schoolboy a good son who made a mistake. In his final statement, Max said, "The only thing I consider myself guilty of is that I did not call an ambulance." However, the panel of judges came to a different conclusion. On June 24, 2024, they found Max Logans guilty and sentenced him to almost the maximum term, 9 years and 10 months in prison. At first, the young man will serve his sentence in a correctional colony, and after he turns 18, in a general regime colony. In addition, the judge approved Anna's parents' claims for moral damages. Max's parents will have to pay the Espens family almost $200,000. We expected this outcome. We had a rough idea of what kind of punishment they would assign him. Of course, nothing will bring our daughter back to us, but at least there is some consolation in the fact that the culprit was convicted, Anna's parents said. As for the Espens family, they were forced to sell their house and move to another place because the residents of the city of LA pointed their finger at their house every time they passed by. Tens of thousands of people were shocked by Anna's tragedy. Many did not understand, and still do not understand, how a young man could do such a thing on his own. Moreover, as Max himself stated during interrogations, he is very afraid of blood. Now I replay that evening in my head every day and think, why did it happen exactly like this? Why couldn't I convince her not to go anywhere? Didn't I detain her? How did it happen that she hit her head? I was probably in a state of shock and didn't quite understand what was happening and what I was doing. Perhaps it was because I was afraid of blood. But local residents were absolutely certain that Max had accomplices, his friends. And they even created a petition, which has been signed by 165,000 people to date, to bring to criminal responsibility all 3 of those whose names Anna named. They were thoroughly checked by law enforcement officers who seized computers and phones and stated that Max's friends had nothing to do with the crime. Do you think this was a negligent homicide or a cold-blooded crime? Write in the comments.